You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane. Broke my will. What a thrill. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
The 1950s in Memphis, Tennessee, it was a very fertile musical territory. And Sam Phillips, who was the producer and owner of Sun Records, had a very unique musical vision that different musical styles like rhythm and blues and country and pop would come together to create an altogether new sound, which is exactly what he achieved. Sam Phillips was not a musical genius in the sense that he couldn't tell you a quarter note from an eighth note, but he really felt that passion and the feel of the music was the most important thing, and that's why those Sun records still sound as fresh today as what they did then. And I believe that when we're performing, we're certainly trying to capture that same sort of passion on stage. So it's an interesting show. I mean, we start with me as Carl Perkins performing Blue Suede Shoes. So we open with that, and then we bring out Johnny Cash, and he goes through some of his early Sun records, including his very first single, Cry, Cry, Cry. And then we have an outstanding Jerry Lee Lewis artist that's on the show, a fellow named Joe Passion. He tours extensively in the United States, but especially internationally. He's a very strong act. He's an incredible boogie-woogie piano player and an incredible showman. So he goes over really big with the audience, and he does a medley of some of the early Jerry Lee stuff, as well as, you know, the big hits, Great Balls of Fire, a whole lot of shaking going on. And he also does Jerry Lee's very first single. And of course we bring out Elvis Presley, a guy named Gino Monopoly, very sought after on the scene these days. Good looking guy, great voice, a lot of charisma on stage. And we do the early records for Elvis Presley, as well as we even perform a song called My Happiness, which was a song that Elvis initially recorded when he went to Sun just as a paying customer. They used to have a recording service there where you could spend a couple of bucks and you could go in and make a record. Elvis recorded that song as a gift for his mother, so we actually include that in the show. And we also have a very unique segment called the $1 Million Quartet, which is the only time really that the four main guys were all in the studio together. It was originally a Carl Perkins recording session where Jerry Lee Lewis had been hired to play piano on the session that was interrupted by Johnny Cash coming in to get a royalty check, and we do little snippets of that as well. Yeah, there's two parts to the show. So we've got a great catalog of music because of the guys that are involved. So we try and capture as much of that catalog as we can. There are 37 songs that are performed in the show. We have to do some of them as medleys just to fit them all in. But it's a tremendous show, and you've got great music. You've also got a lot of the interesting stories behind the music. So you learn something as you're sitting there about Sun Records and the artists and the songs. And it's also an extremely audience interactive show, too. It's not a static show where people just sit and applaud at the end of each song. The audience is very much engaged throughout the show. So it's a really fun experience, very different sort of show. And it was a precedent-setting time, and it certainly influences a lot of stuff that still goes on today. So I think it has a very broad base of appeal. I think it's also a great show for kids to go see. You know, I consider it an honor to play Carl Perkins. I think he's one of the unheralded greats of rock and roll. And I think, you know, that he was a unique musician in that he was a singer and a really unique guitar player and a songwriter. He did all that. He's got a fabulous catalog of music. And then I think it's equally important that as a person, you know, Carl Perkins was a great man. He was a very humble man. He was a man who felt that he was lucky to be included in the company with whom he kept. The Sun Records All-Stars is a great concept, and it's a great show, and I think it's a unique performance that people won't soon forget.
Hey, killer, I'm gonna cook you up some Cajun gumbo right now. Now, throw in some hot Tabasco sauce and blow your face right off! Come on over, baby, whole lot of shaking going on.